Welcome back to the Not Carrie Bradshaw YouTube channel. In this video, we are recapping episode 6 of P-Valley. This might be my favorite episode so far, okay? I feel like we got really powerful performances from our team of heroes. So let's jump right in. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how this episode started, because I feel like we got a personal sex tape. We see Diamond and Big Bone having sex, right? But I can't divorce myself of the real life knowledge that these people are in a relationship and currently having a baby, and that's why. That's why they're having that baby. I'm convinced that like that scene, that had to be what did it for them, because it was what did it for me. Okay? Like I desperately want to interview an intimacy coach, because I need to understand how they teach people to simulate sex on screen. And I also want to talk to actors who simulate sex on screen, because is it professionalism, self-control, or talent that makes it like not real for them? Because I'm just like, I couldn't be an actor, not with Tyler Lepley. Okay. Anyway, I love that he is 100% like a root worker. Like he's like, I dispose of my seed because I don't want nobody putting no hexes on me. And it's just like, you know what? Responsibility, good for you. Again, I applaud the use of condoms. Very happy about it. Let me say, Big Bone, the acting is leaving something to be desired. Some of the way that she delivered some of the scenes were giving urban romance novel. And I just wanted her to sell it a little bit more. I do like that she clocked the fact that Diamond no longer does security at the club because he, fell in love with somebody who wasn't ready to be saved. Smart girl. We love it. As he's having sex with Big Bone, he's picturing Keyshawn. And I wonder, does that happen for people like who have like unrequited love that they're trying to move on from? Like, are you thinking about the one who got away? Because that seems difficult. Or is that maybe like a part of like fantasy and it should be okay? Drop down in the comments. Let's have a conversation about that. Like, is that an okay thing to do? We know that he's doing this because he has PTSD from the war and from Murda night. And he obviously still has love for Keyshawn. And it is seeping through. Okay. So moving along, we get to the Dirty Dozen crew. It is Big Teak's birthday. The gang has bought him a car. And why my friends not buying me cars? And here's what, I don't even want a car because I don't drive here. I'm not a great driver. I don't want to drive in New York, but I want my friends to, I just want my friends to take care of me. I don't want to work anymore. I feel like all my friends should just put in and take care of me. But anyway, this isn't about me. Can we just pull over real quick to talk about Lil Murda's hair journey? Again, shout out to the Bad Brown Blondies. I love it. I really love how much fun they have with his hair. They put a little streak here or there, a little geometric shape, a little color. I love it. Anywho, Teak is in the barbershop getting a haircut, right? And the barber, who is one of the members of Tag Team, as in Won't Dad is. Anyway, he's using this burning technique, which is actually like an ancestral haircutting technique that Katori Hall talked about on her Twitter. I'm going to put the link to the YouTube video that discusses that history in the episode description if you're curious. I thought that was really cool. And one of the things that I love about the thoughtfulness of this series is that we get so many cultural references, like deep cuts that we might not otherwise get. And I love when Black creatives get to fully take control, because these are the nuances that we get. And I do sometimes fear, especially as African Americans, that our recipes are going to be lost. So I'm happy that this show is keeping things like that alive and on our radar and giving us things to research. It's like you don't know what you don't know, but this at least gives us things to research. So the tour is on hold per Rome's untimely passing, and the blogs aren't saying how he passed, but we know how he passed. Shouts out to Wody. The barber is also hinting that Teak is really talented, which we hear later on in the episode, but we'll get there. So Keyshawn calls Lil Murda to tell him about what happened with Rome. And she can't even bring herself to really say the word. She just says, like, he tried it. And, you know, Lil Murda is like, well, I'm glad that he's dead. She also reveals to him that Rome knew about Lil Murda's closeted homosexuality, and that she confided in Wody about it. So putting two and two together later in the episode, it, you know, Lil Murda kind of hints at he's coming to a conclusion about what transpired. So, and then the call gets cut short because Derek, who is just the worst, who is so clueless, like, of course he loved Rome. Of course he did, because he's a freaking idiot. T keeps hinting that today is a big day, right? And all throughout the episode, he's talking in this very finite way. Like, he's dropping these clues this whole episode about where he is mentally and emotionally, right? And even though he's really moved to tears and excited and happy about this car, there is something bubbling just under the surface. So they go to the Hot Wing Cafe, which really made me miss Atlanta, because you just don't get wings like that in New York. It just doesn't give what it needs to give here. It's always something a little bit off. And on Katori Hall's Twitter, she mentioned that this is kind of a callback. It's definitely a callback to Uncle Clifford saying to Lil Murda, what we gonna do? Like, go to the Hot Wing, you know, I forgot what the name of the restaurant was, whatever, on a date. And Lil Murda and Teak are actually on somewhat of a date, and the waitress starts hitting on Teak, and of course, like, Lil Murda don't like that shit. It was kind of cute. I'm sorry. We learn a little bit more about how intimate Lil Murda and Teak's relationship was in prison. Like, Lil Murda set up this romantic evening for them, like in a janitor supply closet or something like that. And I'm happy that we got to learn more of the nuance of that relationship, and that it was something like quite significant, in addition to, you know, Teak protecting Lil Murda and, you know, kind of like taking a charge for him. There was a significant love between the two of them. So Teak wants to know about who this person is that Lil Murda is in love with. Like, he's coming to terms with the fact that the world moved on while he was in prison. Lil Murda moved on, the world moved on, so much is different, right? And he says, you know, tell me about Clifford, tell me about this guy. And how do you explain to someone who has been removed from these public conversations that we've been having about gender identity and sexuality? How do you explain that to them? And Uncle Clifford goes by Uncle Clifford, which is a masculine identifier, uncle, but has preferred feminine pronouns. And Teak is like, explain it to me like I'm 5, basically. And what I love that Lil Murda says is, nigga, I don't know, I just accept. That is me. Oh my God. Every time I'm trying to talk to friends and family about being more accepting and understanding of the trans community, they want to know these ins and outs and these scientific things, and how can you da 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 da. And I don't understand everything about what it means to be trans or non-binary. I don't. I just know that I accept people for who they are and how they want to identify. And that's really it for me. I do my best to educate myself, but I'm not qualified enough to educate someone else on it. And maybe I should be. And I'm working on that. But I absolutely loved this line, that I'm not about to go through the particulars and the ins and outs and, gender is this and sex is this and sexual. I'm not going to do all that. I don't know. I just accept. He just knows that he loves Uncle Clifford. And the way that he describes his love for her, I think is just so beautiful. And it's like, damn, I want somebody to be talking about me like that over 6-piece lemon pepper wet. But anyway, Lil Murda also is coming to terms with how much he messed up with Uncle Clifford and also how much he messed up with Teak. And you cannot move forward in relationships when you don't actually take accountability. And I love that that apology was kind of unspoken. But this was a truly intimate moment between the two of them that I really liked. So I also love that Lil Murda was kind of like, nigga, I'm rolling with you today. Cause it's very much like, don't we all love to like run around and like run errands with our dude? Why do you just want to be in the passenger seat with your dude when he running errands? It's so cute. It's just like, look at us doing life together. I just love it. I'm sorry. I'm such a bird. Well, a little bit of a bird. If you're not a little bit of a bird, I don't like you. Like, you can't take yourself that seriously. Everybody has to be a little bit of a bird to be fun. Anyway. So they're at the gas station and Lil Murda hears himself on the radio as a feature with our girl Tina Snow, aka Megan Thee Stallion. I absolutely love the song. Can't wait to listen to it over and over again. So they go by the trap house after this, gas station turn up where I was like, please don't have a shootout at the gas station, okay? But it's also, did you guys notice that like Teak didn't know how to like pay at the pump? Like he started doing his bid in 1994, I think he said, and like, whoa. Think about literally how much has changed. And like, what if you felt like you couldn't catch up to everything that has changed since 1994? My God. So they go by the trap house and Wody tells Lil Murda that Meg wants him to come and perform the song on tour. So while Teak is in the trap house, Wody is, like, hey, we gonna have to let Teak go. He's way too much of a liability. And Lil Murda is like, I can't do that. Like, this man has like held me down. Like, he's fresh out. I can't abandon him. And Lil Murda has this awareness of how fragile Teak is right now and like wants to support him. But here's the thing, like the overriding theme of like Teak and Keyshawn, you cannot save people who are not ready to be saved. And the only thing that you can do is hope that you are around to lift them up when they're ready to be saved, right? So Wody offers to handle the situation. And again, this is where, he reveals that he knows that Rome OD'd, and Lil Murda's like, how did you know that? So Lil Murda discovers that Teak left his pistol in the glove compartment and takes it into him. And we can see this like kind of horror. It looked like a horror movie kind of scene where Teak is like triggered to this really deep childhood trauma. This is the house that he grew up in. And Lil Murda kind of shakes up the scene and comes in and he's like, why would you come in here without your pistol? Like, get it together. And this whole episode, Lil Murda is just trying to emphasize to Teak that we're moving forward and you are coming with me. There is life after this. Like, leave this shit behind. This isn't your life anymore. You cannot move forward in a healthy way. You cannot move forward without being in survival mode until you reckon with the past. And as well-intentioned as people are, when they say, just move on, you can just move on when you address what it is that you need to move on from. And like Teak needs legit like medical help. Like he needs a hardcore therapist. And that's never mentioned because unfortunately, still in our community, we're talking more about therapy. We're talking more about mental health, but those conversations aren't going everywhere. And it's still, I don't know that it's even taboo anymore so much as it's just something that people are unfamiliar with and you don't know what you don't know. So they're now singing Lakeside. And Teak is just really a tragic figure. He is someone who was failed by several different systems. His mother obviously had mental health issues and murdered his brother and sister, and he survived. So I'm sure he has survivor's remorse. He feels that the devil, not mental health, but the devil got into his mom, and he feels that like that devil is in him, but it's like maybe your mom had like an actual diagnosis, a, a mental health like diagnosis, and nature or nurture, you might have the same thing. And if you want to call that the devil, then like sure. Um, but he feels like he doesn't know how to get it out of him. You know, like he feels haunted. And that really is how trauma works. It does haunt you. It's like a specter over your life if you do not address it. That's one of the things, one of the tropes that I do find kind of cool about horror movies is that the only way that you get rid of the ghost is to confront it, to ask it like, what do you want? Why are you here? Why are you haunting us? You know what I mean? And obviously that horror movie shit goes like horribly wrong, but you have to confront the ghosts of your past is my point. So they're in the car, and after, you know, Teak has like revealed this deep trauma because Lil Murda felt responsible for where Big Teak is right now emotionally. He feels that him defending him in that fight and getting sent to the hole is what changed him. And Big Teak is like, you need to absolve yourself of that guilt because I was in a mental hole a long time ago. You know, that was just more of the same. And he's really talking in this very defeated way and eventually kills himself in front of Lil Murda. And I'm really happy with the way they didn't show us that. I'm happy that they even kind of muffled the sound of the gunshot. Like I saw it coming and was just like bracing myself. And I'm really happy with the way that they handled that. And what a traumatic thing to witness so close up. I think the singer Monica experienced something similar that she's talked about before. But Lil Murda goes the only place where he knows to go, which is to Uncle Clifford's house. And grandmother has Ernestine got the COVID from Toy trifling ass. And Uncle Clifford, you know, comes to the door and basically, you know, holds Lil Murda up and he says, like, I'm not okay. And that I found that scene to be so powerful because how many times have I wished that someone would just say, like, I'm not okay, instead of trying to be strong, instead of, no, I'm cool, I got it, you know, da da da. Just say, I'm not okay, because it's okay to not be okay. Like, we see that all the time, but really, it is okay to not be okay. So I thought that was a really lovely scene. That's where he went for refuge. So Keyshawn makes a really daring attempt to leave. Derek heads out to a friend's house. She leaves her phone. She grabs the pistol from the vent. She has a backpack. She goes to the car. He has disabled her car, so she can't go anywhere. And I was so heartbroken for her in that moment. And I'm happy about this scene because I want us to continue to be encouraged to give domestic violence victims some grace, that even when they do get ready to leave, they can't because this person has such an extensive level of control over them to the point where this man messed up her car. I was thinking that he had put some sort of tracking device on the car. So she's quite defeated and goes back in the house, and she's, you know, waiting for him with the gun pulled, and I guess had a moment of clarity that like, I maybe probably shouldn't kill this man. And he comes in and says that his friends who he was visiting wanted him to bring the kids next time. Not her, but just the kids. And I love that they view her as an outcast. And I don't know if it's because she's black or because she's a dancer, but it's like he's the abuser, but she's viewed as the outcast, which is just indicative even more so that like, that's still a white man and he can still get away with murder. So yeah, that was devastating. And it's like she is ready to be saved and doesn't have anyone to save her. That's a tragedy. And I do hope that by the end of this season, we do see some redemption. And I'm really hoping that she unalives Derek and gets away with it. It's going to cost a lot of money to reopen the Pink. Like a lot of money. And Autumn Haley is being the shady bitch that we know her to be. So the girls, Whisper and Roulette, are dancing at this spades tournament. And shouts out to people who know how to play spades. Confession, I am not one of them. I just feel like if you didn't learn by the time you were like 12, it's just too late and you need to move on with your life. And I have moved on with my life. Every time I get together with my friends and they start playing spades, it's time for me to go. Like, I'm no longer useful here. So, this was, Uncle Whitford wants to turn Haley in as an aside, but it would be like mutual self-destruction if she did, because they're all implicated in the murder of Montavia. So it's like, damn it, this high yellow hoe gets away with it again. Anyway, so Whisper and Roulette are performing at this spades tournament, right? And I couldn't tell if Whisper was jealous of Roulette or vice versa. I think that they were actually both competing for attention, and the colorism jumps out. So this guy wants Roulette to hook him up with Whisper because she's foreign. This, you know, the exoticism. And he says that he wants to pay to perform oral sex on Whisper, but meanwhile, he paid Roulette, the black woman, to give him oral sex. And it's just like, wow, the colorism jumped out so hard. And Roulette is looking around and seeing what the clear preference is in this strip club, because like across industries, you will not get away from colorism, texturism, the politics of beauty, particularly in the sex industry. There's no way to escape it. So she's obviously feeling quite low. Duffy comes along. I wasn't okay with the line, but I'm a hoe. I don't know that is that how people talk about themselves? Like, is that how she would have said that? That line really like stood out to me. It's just kind of inauthentic, and it kind of took me out of the moment. But, you know, Duffy's retort was, shit, me too. But I am happy that she did have some validation in that moment, because it was definitely giving Miss Sophia in The Color Purple. I was feeling mighty low. So Mercedes shows up to Shell's house with groceries. Shell is in denial about her addiction, and the pandemic IRL triggered a lot of people to lean into different coping mechanisms. We didn't have as many healthy distractions as we otherwise would, and it was a difficult time for people who were addicts and who were in recovery, and then some people, I think, kind of started a habit. Shell is confronted with the fact that she called Terica a mistake, and Mercedes is like, let me take her off your hands until you get yourself together. And Shell maintains that her home is still a better home for Terica in this like territorial way. And it's like, you're not making sure this girl is fed. You're not working. Like, you're not bringing in any money. Why do you think that you're a better option here? Like, Shell irritates me. And I understand she's like a woman scorned, but just like, girl, please. So Coach reaches out to set up another Mercedes experience, right? And he's like, you know, Farrah won't stop raving about it, whatever. Now, Mercedes arrives, you know, to perform and makes it very clear to Farrah, like, we need to pretend that nothing happened, because she needs to, you know, secure the bag. So Coach is quickly becoming the third wheel in this threesome, and he completely loses his shit. He feels betrayed by Mercedes, and Farrah reveals that, yeah, we've been married for 19 years and you don't even know that I like women, and takes this opportunity to really express a lot of her grievances. And it made me think about this ongoing conversation that is happening about submission. It's giving very much Bernie from Waiting to Exhale, when you devote yourself fully to this man's pursuits and his joy, what do you have left for you if he's not giving himself back? If you are just pouring, 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 you start pouring from an empty cup, okay? And of course shit like this happens because you can't get water from an empty well. You can't get blood from a turnip. People need reciprocity. You cannot just give, give, give without receiving. That's my issue with the conversation on submission in terms of I baby my man, I do everything for him. That's great. What does he do for you? Do you get anything in return? Mercedes really tried to step in and defend Farrah because like yay feminism, and it was like, girl, you do not have a coin in here. Like you have no stake in it. Like maybe you sit back. Farrah tries to at minimum get Mercedes her money. And you know, she was getting kicked out. Farrah tries to get her money, but I think Mercedes left without the money. Bitch, why would you leave without the money? Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't she leave without that money? That shit made me mad. Pay me for the full day's work. And Katori Hall wanted to make it a very clear point that not being paid for services rendered as a sex worker is a part of the violence the sex workers experience. That shit really made me mad. It's like he kind of reneged on a contract, which Farrah called him out on, and Farrah just politely gave Mercedes her shoes. And it's like, where's your feminism now? Don't leave me out here hanging. I don't know. That whole scene was just like, his reaction, just like sent me like, you think I don't know when two bitches now? I was like, oh, okay, well, all right. Terica shows up at Mercedes' house pregnant, and just trauma passing down trauma. I don't know where we're going with this. I don't know how this is going to turn out. I want it better for Terica, but you know, you have one mom who's trying to figure out her career post dancing. You have another mom who has no career, who has taken up a career as an alcoholic. The girl was left to her own devices in a pandemic. What are you going to do? So in his bid for mayor, Andre is hosting a masquerade ball, which I also read on Katori Hall's Twitter. This whole scene is supposed to be indicative of the Edgar Allan Poe poem, The Red Death, I think it's called, about a prince and his very wealthy friends who sequestered themselves to wait out a pandemic, and they all actually end up dying because like the disease like seeps its way. It's a really cool poem. You guys should read it. Or I think there's like a audio visual version of it on YouTube. It's really cool, but that's what this scene is supposed to look like, because this is a bunch of wealthy people. They aren't really acknowledging mask mandates, and they're still in a pandemic, but they're there for a party, and for Andre to promote himself and to get, you know, endorsements from people. And his first speech is not as impassioned, and Autumn Haley shows up once again, film noir style, in this very red dress. You know, she's supposed to be the Red Death for all these rich people. And she shakes up the scene and she asks the question of like, how do you plan to redistribute this wealth? And, you know, that sounds an awful lot like socialism. And these white folks ain't trying to hear that. But her question inspires him to speak with a little bit more passion and gets more excitement from the crowd. And it's just like, that's what she's good for. Like, she really, I guess, brings out the best in him, but he's not happy to see her, and Corbin definitely isn't happy to see her. So they like shoo her out, and I was confused of like, damn, Andre is making it real clear that he don't want this bitch there. And it was real trifling that she came in there using his wife's name. She's just a real trifling hoe all around. And it also made me think about like Jocelyn told Keyshawn, per Cardi B, you're gonna always be a hoe to them. So Autumn Haley makes her way back into this party on the arm of Georgie Baston, this woman who is now taking over the Promised Land situation since her husband died. And I like this old broad. You know, she's got chutzpah, okay? And she says that so Autumn Haley brings out a whole new alias, Lakeisha Savage, where it's just like, girl, what is you doing? Anyway, and she is selling this room of people, this room of men, you know, in the cigar room, on the fact that the pink is worth more money and that it wouldn't be a good PR move to swindle a black owned property that's worth a lot more in the poorest county, in the poorest place, you know, kind of using Andre's speech against him. And Georgie is with it. She really likes, you know, Lakeisha's vibe. And she's like, you know, I'm going to get you the money that you deserve and that you're looking for. And yeah, we'll see what happens with that. So Andre still gets the Promised Land endorsement. And Lakeisha Savage, Lakeisha Autumn Haley, blah, 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 is at this man's house once again, film noir style. I'm getting a little bit irritated with this device, this storytelling device, especially because I wanted this scene to be better lit. I'm cool with it in theory, but I kind of it wasn't giving exactly what I needed it to give. He's very upset that she's in his house. She's very upset. He's very upset that she came to the masquerade ball and wants her to get out. And she does this like power play. And this is something that when we talk about like submission, and Keyshawn kind of hinted at it in the last episode of like, I'm still in control, even though it looks like I'm doing like that I'm in service to other people's desires. I'm still very much in control because I'm providing a fantasy. That's what Autumn Haley Savage Lakeisha was doing by saying, you know, like, you're the boss, tell me what you want me to do, and all of that. She did ultimately like pull him back into her side. And this was predictable, but I think that there's something there. There is something to, and I think they talk about this in the BDSM world, which I would like to be more well versed on, that there is a certain amount of power in submission, and it's not as black and white. Like, there is somewhat of an exchange there, because there's also a level of vulnerability on his end that he is giving in to her accepting these commands. I thought it was just a really cool scene. I just wanted it to be lit differently. So that's this episode. What I love about each episode is that it leaves me wanting more. And I'm happy that I think we get 10 episodes this season. So I'm excited to see what else is to come. I'm hoping that this season, I want the season to give us a good cliffhanger, but I also really hope that some of our characters find some peace. I don't want them to just be traumatized the whole season. So we'll see what happens. Slide in the comments. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode. Be sure to subscribe and share and join my Patreon. Let me know what exclusive content you guys might be interested in me putting on my Patreon. I've been trying to come up with some like special things to do, but I don't know, my creative mind is just not where I need it to be. So let me know if you have any ideas, and I will talk to you guys next week. Bye.